Hello students, welcome back to St. Thomas School, Surat, Standard 8, Subject English, Lesson 3, MACAVITY, the Mystery Cat. Lesson 3, MACAVITY, the Mystery Cat. This is a poem written by T.S. Eliot, Thomas Stearns Eliot. T.S. Eliot was an American-British poet, essayist, publisher, playwright, critic, and editor. He was born on 26 September 1888 at St. Louis, Missouri. He died on 4th January 1965, and he also won the Nobel Prize in Literature in the year 1948. And his main work was The Wasteland. His main work was a book named The Wasteland. Now coming to the introduction to the poem, let me ask you a question. Do you have a pet cat or any pet animals at home? Have you ever noticed anything mysterious about it? It is not easy to say whether every cat is a mystery, but MACAVITY is one for sure. What makes him a perfect mystery cat? Okay, this poem is about a villainous cat committing all types of crimes and always escapes from being caught. The poem is light in note and humorous in nature. It's a very simple poem. It's a humorous one and very simple. And it's about a cat who commits all types of crimes and escapes from being caught. Now coming to the first stanza. MACAVITY is a mystery cat. He's called the hidden paw, for he's a master criminal who can defy the law. He's the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. For when they reach the scene of crime, MACAVITY is not there. Let me read once again. MACAVITY is a mystery cat. He is called the hidden paw, for he is a master criminal who can defy the law. He is the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. For when they reach the scene of crime, MACAVITY is not there. The meaning for the word defy means disobey or resist openly. Okay, so this cat disobeys whatever the law that land has. Now next, bafflement means confusion. He is a confusion to the Scotland Yard. And despair means hopelessness. The flying squad is very hopeless in finding this MACAVITY, because when they reach the scene of crime, MACAVITY is not there. Now coming to the explanation of stanza 1. MACAVITY is a mystery cat, otherwise he is called as the hidden paw. The other name given to the MACAVITY is hidden paw. And he is a master of all criminals, and he obeys the laws openly. Okay, now this cat is a confusion of Scotland Yard. Now Scotland Yard is the headquarters of the London police force. So this cat has been a confusion for the London police force and a pain of the flying squad. Flying squad is a group of police or soldiers ready to move into action quickly. And this MACAVITY has caused a pain within the flying squad, because by the time the police reaches the crime spot, the cat vanishes away. He is nowhere to be found. Stanza 2. MACAVITY, MACAVITY, there's no one like MACAVITY. He's broken every human law he breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a fakir stare. And when you reach the scene of crime, MACAVITY is not there. You may seek him in the basement, you may look up in the air, but I tell you once and once again, MACAVITY is not there. MACAVITY, MACAVITY, there's no one like MACAVITY. He's broken every human law, he breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a fakir stare, and when you reach the scene of crime, MACAVITY is not there. You may seek him in the basement, you may look up in the air, but I tell you once and once again, MACAVITY is not there. The meaning of the word levitation means floating in the air without support. Okay, so he breaks, now you can understand, he breaks the law of gravity means he can even float in the air without any support. Coming to the explanation of stanza 2, now the poet repeats the words MACAVITY to emphasize that cat is still at large. That means he's not at court. The police is searching him everywhere. The poet continues to say that no one is like MACAVITY because he has broken every law, even the law of gravity. Law of gravity here means that no one can vanish away, but MACAVITY does. Okay, so he can float away anywhere. MACAVITY has the power of levitation. That is, he can float in the air. You will not find him. This makes a fakir. The fakir means is a religious man surprised because usually it is these religious people who do all magic. But here it is this cat who is doing all sorts of such magical things. After committing a crime, he vanishes into thin air, making it difficult for the police to find him. So in the poem, the poet is trying to say MACAVITY is a cat that breaks every law. He just vanishes off into thin air, causing trouble to the police and also to all the people around. And even the fakir, who's a religious man who does all this magic, he is even surprised how can a cat do such thing. And the poet emphasizes saying that till now the MACAVITY is not been caught by the police. MACAVITY is a ginger cat. He is very tall and thin. You would know him if you see him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brow is deeply lined with thought, his head is highly doomed. His coat is dusty from neglect, his whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side, with movements like a snake. And when you think he's half asleep, he's always wide awake. MACAVITY is a ginger cat, is very tall and thin. You would know him if you see him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brow is deeply lined with thought, his head is highly doomed. His coat is dusty from neglect, his whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake, and when you think he's half asleep, he's always wide awake. Now coming to the explanation. Here the poet proceeds to describe the physical features of the cat. The cat is a ginger cat, means it's brown in color. We know that color of the ginger is brown. It's like a brown color cat. Very tall and thin. His eyes are sunken and brows are deep lined in thought, which means he is always in deep thought. Because of deep thinking all the times, his eyes have gone inside. Sunken means deep inside it has gone. And his brows are deep lined, always when you shrink your face, your eyebrows tend also to shrink and they become deep lined. So here the cat is trying to make plans to commit the next crime. Okay, when you're, for example, for humans, when you're tensed up, your face, becomes very small, your eyebrows become uh, closed up, and, because of that, deep lines are formed. Here, but the poet is, making him, making the cat as a funny character and saying that this cat is always in deep thought how to commit the next crime. The poet continues to say that the cat's head is round, his coat is dusty, and his whiskers not combed. His coat here means the fur of the cat. The fur. He's not. The cat is not wearing a coat. It is only the fur on his body. It is dusty, and his whiskers. Whiskers are the long, stiff hair grown near the mouth. So these whiskers are also not combed or not kept properly because he has no time to think good things or take care of himself. He is not that very clean animal. Here, this cat, MACAVITY, is described as a not very clean animal. He always, has his body full covered with dust, and his long, stiff hair near the mouth is also not combed properly. His movement is like a snake, swaying his head side to side in search of a prey. So when the cat walks, always his head moves one side to side. It's as if it is like a snake, and he's in search of a prey. This cat is so alert that if we think he's half asleep, it's not so. Okay, so when you find him lying down somewhere, we might think that he's sleeping, but not at all. He's a very alertful cat, and he is always looking at people. If at any time the police might catch him. The stanza 4. MACAVITY, MACAVITY, there's no one like MACAVITY, for he's a fine and feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet him in a by-street, you may see him in the square, but when a crime's discovered, then MACAVITY is not there. MACAVITY, MACAVITY, there's no one like MACAVITY, for he's a fine and feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet him in a by-street, you may see him in the square, but when a crime is discovered, then MACAVITY is not there. Fine means devil. Feline, it is the shape of a or something related to cat. So you can say that MACAVITY is a cat in devilish character. A monster of depravity. Depravity means a person or animal having moral corruption. He's not morally correct, not morally good. Now coming to the explanation. According to the poet, there is no one like MACAVITY because as he is devilish or devil in cat shape. So the poet is giving a MACAVITY a devil's character. MACAVITY is devilish or is a devil in cat shape. He's morally corrupt too. He's not a good animal at all. He does all wrong things. The poet continues to say that we can find him at private streets or in the square. Square means public area or malls. So anywhere you can find this cat. But once he commits a crime or after his crime is discovered, he vanishes away and cannot be traced. So once he commits a crime, he just vanishes off and cannot be traced at all. So this is the poem about MACAVITY, the cat, the mystery cat, written by T.S. Eliot. Actually, this poem has got two to three more stanzas coming up, but in our textbook we have only 4 stanzas. But in your workbook, there are few questions regarding that, regarding the 5th and 6th stanzas. But I will be giving you the answers for that. Now, I hope you have understood the poem. So just let me sum up the poem summary for you. This poem is written by T.S. Eliot, and he has also won the Nobel Prize for Literature. And it's about a mystery cat who commits all crimes and just vanishes off into thin air. And this cat has been a headache for the Scotland Yard or the police of the London force, and also to the people who run other police forces. Now, when you come to this next stanzas, you can see that he breaks every law, even the law of gravity. That means he just vanishes off into thin air after committing a crime. So he just runs away and nobody can find him. And next, the poet describes about the physical features or how the cat looks like. And he's a brown or a ginger cat, and his eyes have sunken in, has gone inside, and his eyebrows have also been very sharp, deep lined, which means he's always, or the cat is always thinking about how to commit the next crime. And so it's because of the planning, too much of planning, his eyebrows have become deep lined, and his eyes have gone inside. And the poet also says that the animal is not at all clean. He does not take care of his body. His coat, his completely, or his fur is dusty, and his whiskers, the stiff hair on the mouth of the cat is also not brushed properly. And when he walks as with his head moving side to side, saying that uh, it's like a snake movement. Okay. And that's because he's always planning to do something mischievous, and he's always alert. Even we think he's sleeping, it is not at all like that. He's always awake, uh, just to keep him, because he keeps himself awake that he should not be caught. And then to the end of the poem, the poet says that the cat is like a devilish attitude, having a devilish attitude or a devil in cat shape, and he's also morally corrupt. And you can find him anywhere, in a private street or in a public place. But once that crime is discovered, he vanishes off into thin air and cannot be discovered at all. So that is about the poem. I hope you all have understood. Uh, Take care of yourself, and thank you.